Okay, calm down.
So you've been doing this for a while, as you said. Is
Yes.
there any difference among the presidents in terms of their position? Like, is Biden worse than Obama was on Israel? Are they all the same?
Well, under Obama, if you recall, we had a major war in 2014. It was just as intense. It was not near as bad. Only 2,400 Palestinian civilians were killed at the time, in a short period. They all paid lip service to two-state solutions and so on. I must say that, Biden is very enthusiastic about his support to Israel. And, he always comes out and, wears his the fact that he's a Zionist. I mean, he calls himself a Zionist like a badge of honor. He does that time and time again. And we understand your love for Israel, but you can't um, uh, go day after day conveying a false narrative, an Israeli narrative about the decapitation of babies or other stories and so on. You do it verbatim, even when your advisors tell you, please
Yeah.
don't do that. Even when the Israelis called the Americans, says, hey, tone it down, on the
Right.
issue of the
Yeah.
rape and all this, tone it down, because, there's a
Yeah.
whole lot of exaggeration in that. So,
Like Matthew
yeah,
Miller saying that the reason Hamas wasn't releasing these other
right,
hostages was because the women were probably sexually assaulted and they didn't
right,
want them
right.
to talk about it.
Yeah. And one of my colleagues asked the following day, she said, you said that, but I mean, ultimately they will be released and they will be saying the same thing. So their story, it doesn't, the logic is a bit quirky,
Yeah.
it doesn't work. But to answer your question, I think we have seen consistently American presidents take the same stand and see Israel expand settlements, do away with agreements, I remember when George W. Bush called Ariel Sharon a man of peace, a guy whose own biography, he wrote his autobiography and he called himself warrior. This is the guy that called himself warrior. Bush insisted that he was a man of peace. We know that Obama reiterated the same mantra about Israel's right to defend itself, and this right to defend itself means that Israel has every right to do whatever it wants because it is not being held accountable. The same thing with Biden. The same thing with Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton, if you recall, during the Camp David, I don't know if you recall, but during the Camp David talks in the summer of 2000, when they disagreed with Arafat and all these things, they promised I will come out and will give a press conference, but I will not put the blame on you because it was not Arafat to blame. It was actually Barack to blame. And sure enough, Bill Clinton came out and blamed the Palestinians, blamed Yasser Arafat, blamed the PLO, the PLO. So invariably they do that. They have done this. To his credit, Ronald Reagan during the siege of Beirut, when he called Menachem Begin and he said, "Cut this stuff out." When the bombing was so bad and so intense on civilian areas, he told them to cut it out, and they cut it out because
Right.
America wields a great deal of influence. I mean, in this partnership, the United States of America is the senior partner.
Apparently he called it a Holocaust, Reagan.
He did actually.
Yeah.
He did call it that. Yes. So
And what are your thoughts on Netanyahu's recent admission that he killed the peace process, as he told some journalists the other day?
Right. He's always taken pride with that. We knew that all along. I mean, Netanyahu, if you recall, in 1995 and 1994, was really instigating against Rabin, and in fact, Leah Rabin accused him of being behind the assassination of Rabin. So, Netanyahu has been consistent. I mean, he since 1996, let's say, when he assumed the premiership the first time until today, he has consistently did everything possible to nullify the two-state solution, to make it unachievable by whatever means. And they all know that. And Obama knew this. Biden knows this. When Biden went there for the first time in 2009, Katie, Netanyahu greeted them with this expansion of settlements, if you recall. And, he was very upset, Biden, but, they couldn't do anything about it and so on. And then, a few years later, Netanyahu, working with the right wing GOP representatives, came in and spoke to two to a joint session of Congress, instigating and inciting against the Obama Iran deal, if you recall, for the nuclear deal and so on. So they have done this time and time and time again. Netanyahu is probably the major obstacle before any process of peace anywhere in the region.